what's up? Sanisa, Super Bad Estrada here, and I just want to give a huge special shout out to the relay. Thank you so much for all of the continuous support, and thank you for all of the support during and after and before every single fight.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. This Friday, unbeaten up-and-comer of La France, Rima Ayadi, will be participating on the undercard of what is Estelle Mosley versus Anisha Bashil,
a show that Estelle Mosley is said to be promoting
for a fight that she was initially intended to have at some point last year, but things fell apart, things fell through. As a result, she'll be taking her on this year, and Rima Ayadi will be participating on the undercard. Rima Ayadi, who campaigns in the women's super featherweight division. Super featherweight, that's where Alicia Baumgartner reigns as that division's newly crowned undisputed champion, in possession of all the marbles, all the belts.
She's the boss.
It's her world, and all the other super featherweights are just living within it. That is, until such a time as Alicia decides to move up and vacates all of those alphabet titles. We still ain't gonna fix on when that might happen, but you have to anticipate that at some point Alicia is going to move up to lightweight, and when she does, the landscape will change.
Fighters like Rima Ayadi may step into the forefront.
Rima, who sports a professional record of 7 wins, no losses, no draws, 1 knockout. Not the biggest puncher.
There's still more work needs doing. She only has 7 professional fights.
Having debuted as a professional in 2019 and having fought 7 times since then, Rima was last in action in February of last year. In that way, the night of the fight, it will be a year to the date that Rima last saw action. She could stand to be a bit busier this year.
Got a couple of fights in.
Because it's conceivable that within the next 12 months, Alicia Baumgartner may move up in weight, and when she does, you want to be in position to pick up an alphabet title.
The lay of the land. The landscape itself may change within the next 12 months, and Rima Ayadi is one of those fighters that you want to keep an eye on.
By way of the WBA, you have Germany's own Ramona Grave, who sits in the number 1 spot, number 1.
She's registered as the WBA's gold champion.
What's interesting about the WBA is that they have so labeled former WBA champion, long-reigning champion Hyun-Mi Choi, a champion in recess. That means that as soon as she wants a crack at the WBA title, she is entitled to it. But I don't think she actually wants to fight Alicia Baumgartner for all the marbles. I think she's waiting for Alicia to move up, and maybe she'll take on Ramona Grave or Rima Ayadi for the newly vacated WBA title when it's vacated.
Yeah, I don't think she wants to fight Alicia. She's just waiting for Alicia to vacate those belts.
So even if Hyun-Mi Choi sees herself pick up that newly vacated WBA title, she's going to have her work cut out for her, because Ramona Grave is ranked at number 1. Former WBC lightweight champion, the hard-punching Delphine Persoon, she's ranked at number 2.
The always game and durable Elem Mekhaled, she's ranked at number 3, and I would actually pick Elem Mekhaled to beat Hyun-Mi Choi if they ever shared the ring with each other.
Rima Ayadi, who we just talked about, she's ranked in at number 4. That's by way of the WBA. By way of the WBC, Delphine Persoon, who I just mentioned,
she's ranked at number 1.
When you think about the WBA's ranks, how Hyun-Mi Choi's a champion in recess, and Ramona Grave, she's ranked at number 1, and she's the WBA's gold champion. Those are the 2 fighters in a pole position to pick up the WBA title.
Not Delphine, even though she's in the top 5.
I'd wager Delphine is more interested in picking up the WBC title, because with the WBC, not only is she ranked at number 1, but she is the WBC's silver champion.
She's in a pole position to fight for the green belt next.
Not just the green belt, she's also in a pole position to fight for the blue one. That's right. Delphine Persoon ranks in at number 1 with both the WBC and the IBF. Ranked right behind her is former WBO champion of Poland, Ewa Brodnicka.
And I don't think for a second Eva wants anything to do with Delphine.
It's a stylistic nightmare for a pure boxer, an economic one like an Ewa Brodnicka, who doesn't have the power or the activity, the work rate, to keep somebody like Delphine Persoon off of her. I'd sooner expect Delphine and Jennifer Hahn of the United States to lock horns with each other for the blue belt.
And if by some chance Delphine don't end up fighting for the blue belt, she ends up fighting for the green one.
I still don't expect Ewa Brodnicka to participate in a title fight. Eva hasn't been doing much of anything these days. I'd sooner expect Jennifer Hahn and Karen Carbajal to lock horns with each other for the newly vacated blue belt, provided that it becomes vacant within the next few months.
And that makes for a good fight. Hahn versus Carbajal.
The thing is that Jennifer Hahn, she's coming off of 2 consecutive losses. She's coming off a loss to Katie Taylor and a more recent loss to Michaela Mayer in April of last year.
Would the IBF really afford her an opportunity, a shot at the blue belt if it becomes vacant? We'll see.
By way of the WBO, that's right, the WBO finally published a set of ranked standings for their female fighters once again. Delphine Persoon ranks in at number 1.
Though as stated, I don't think that Delphine is on the WBO route or the IBF route. Looks like she's on the WBC route.
Which would make the United States' own Tiaria Brown and Japan's own Bomi Ray Shin
The 2 likeliest contenders to fight for the WBO title should it become vacant.
That is the lay of the land. The state at super featherweight, Rima Ayadi, among several others, could find themselves in a pole position to fight for the newly vacated alphabet titles at 130 pounds within the next 12 months. And these are the names. These are the fighters you want to keep an eye on. In men's cruiserweight news, per a tweet from Michael Benson, WBC President Mauricio Suleiman has announced that Jake Paul will be officially ranked in the WBC Cruiserweight World Rankings if he beats Tommy Fumbles on February 26th, later on this month.
I've seen an adverse reaction to this news in some circles, small ones, though I don't know why. It's not the worst thing in the world if Jake Paul achieves a rank with the WBC, because it's not like they're fast-tracking him to a title shot.
Not that he's ready for one, because he isn't. The current reigning WBC champion is Lunga Makabu of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He's going to be in action on the undercard of Paul versus Fury opposite the ring former champion Badu Jack. Needless to say, Jake's not ready for a fight like that just because he beats Tommy, if he beats Tommy.
He's a smart kid, he knows that.
I can only assume that the same would apply to Tommy Fury, and the same would apply to him if he wins. Just because you beat Jake don't mean you're ready for Lunga.
Far from it.
The fact that so much time and so much attention has gone into securing this Jake Paul fight, that tells you how legitimate or illegitimate a boxer Tommy Fury is.
That a social media influencer feels comfortable enough to share the ring with you.
Understand that every single time this fight fell apart, it wasn't because of Jake. It wasn't because Jake was causing problems. Jake was causing issues. All the issues were on the Fury end of things, not Jake's. Jake's quite comfortable boxing Tommy Fury.
For all intents and purposes, he always has been.
There's a lot at stake here for Tommy Fury, more so than it is for Jake. For Jake, it's simply a step in the direction of further legitimizing himself as a pugilist, as a boxer. And if he were to lose, you could hardly hold it against him because at least he stepped up. He doesn't come from some deep amateur background. He doesn't necessarily come from a fighting family. He's just a guy who liked the sport enough to try it out. But for Tommy,
if Jake were to lose, it's not the end of the world.
But if Tommy loses, it is, because he's supposed to be the serious boxer, the serious pugilist who does come from a fighting family. They better leave him over there in the Middle East if he don't win this thing.
Can you imagine how awkward those big John Fury IFL TV interviews are going to be if he has to explain why Tommy Fury of the Fighting Furies just lost to a Nickelodeon kid?
A YouTuber, a social media influencer, a guy who doesn't have a deep background in the sport. He's only been doing it for a couple of years, and that couple of years would have been enough in that scenario to beat his son.
He's always carrying on about how he's a fighting man. The Fighting Furies, fighting is in their blood.
We'll see what's in their blood and what isn't. Tommy Fury, he's under a lot of pressure. He's got to win this thing, and not just win, he's got to go in there and look good.
He'll never be able to live this down if he doesn't.
He'll never be taken seriously as a pugilist moving forward if he loses this fight. He'll never be taken seriously as a boxer if he even decides to continue boxing should he lose to this guy.
If you're Tommy Fury and you think this guy don't belong in the sport, you think this guy's a clown, well, you're the one at the circus.
Eating cotton candy. This doesn't qualify as a developmental fight for Tommy. It's a developmental fight for Jake. For Tommy, he's supposed to be head and shoulders above this. This is supposed to be beneath him, and the only reason he's doing it is for the bag, the marquee value tacked on to a Jake Paul fight.
That's the justification for him fighting this guy.
And spending as much time as he has spent on this, when push comes to shove, under the hot lights, he's supposed to establish that Jake don't belong in the same ring with him.
If he fails to do that,
he gets hit, he gets hurt, gets rattled, even gets knocked down. That's mud in his eye.
He becomes an instant meme.
Tommy better win this fucking fight. He better. In men's welterweight news, per a tweet from Michael Benson, the BBBofC's Robert Smith has insisted that Conor Benn will not be approved to fight on a BBBofC-sanctioned show in the UK, even with a foreign license, until he proves his innocence to the BBBofC and UKAD following his positive drug test. It was reported over a week ago that Conor Benn sent a 270-page...
He sent a 270-page document to the WBC, and as far as the WBC's concerned, he's clear to fight, but the WBC don't issue out boxing licenses. The BBBOC does.
Even stranger is that Conor Benn didn't fail any UKAD tests per se. Per reports, he failed a VADA test.
His tests by way of UKAD all came out clear. It was the VADA test that tested positive for a banned substance, and to my knowledge, UKAD doesn't work with VADA. So why is UKAD so insistent?
Why are they giving him such a hard time? It doesn't really make sense. They don't work in tandem with VADA.
I get the sense that the 270-page document sent to the WBC is part of a bigger effort.
The WBC, unlike the BBBOC and UKAD, they do work in tandem with VADA. And what I think the lawyers are going for is a situation to where they say, you know, if the WBC and VADA have exonerated Conor Benn, why don't the BBBOC and UKAD do the same? He passed all his tests with them.
The only thing the BBBOC and UKAD can levy against Conor Benn are his positive VADA tests, but they don't work in tandem with VADA. He passed all his UKAD tests.
That's the angle I think that Conor and his lawyers are coming at this thing from, though it seems that Robert Smith and the BBBOC are standing on their square, and they're standing firm.
Conor Benn means to return to action this year.
And irrespective of what the BBBOC and UKAD might want, he still might. He can always fight abroad. He can always fight in Saudi. He can always fight in America. He can fight anywhere else that Matchroom is doing a show.
And Matchroom does shows anywhere from America to Milan to Uzbekistan to Australia
to Mexico. Matchroom does shows all around the world, and if the goal is to just get Conor back out there, let him get back in the swing of things, put him in there with some ham and egg guy, let him bank some rounds, they can do that, irrespective of what the BBBOC wants.
They can do that.
The BBBOC can't necessarily stop him in a situation like that, though it is a trade-off. Conor Benn ain't got the same marquee value outside of the UK that he has within it.
And you also have to question what effect all of this may have had on his marquee value over time. He was doing all right up until all of this started.
This entire fiasco has resulted in Conor Benn's name getting dragged in the mud.
If you give the boxing fans enough time to forget, they'll forget. But because this is still going on, and because there are still reports circulating about it,
the story's still fresh. It's still ongoing, thus, it may still have an effect. And finally, the latest on the ongoing set of negotiations between Tyson Fury and Team Usyk. Usyk promoter responds to Fury's demands. This is sports. Go to Hollywood if you want to make that kind of money.
The feeling is that now, because the fight is happening in England as opposed to Saudi, Tyson Fury is entitled to the lion's share of the pot.
When it was pointed out that some have argued that Fury is entitled to a bigger portion of the monies because he is a significant draw in his homeland and thus would be driving sales, Karassyuk offered a rebuttal, citing Usyk's 3 belts to Fury's 1. Yeah, but how can you justify this? Just because he's English? Doesn't sound like a big justification, Karassyuk told BoxingScene.com. From the other side, Fury can say, okay, it doesn't matter to me who I'm fighting, whether it's Usyk or the man from a supermarket. I can still sell out Wembley Stadium. But come on, man, this is sports.
It's not just about professional boxing. Go to Hollywood if you want that kind of money.
How hard a bargain the Fury people drive will tell you how bad they want this fight or how bad they don't want it.
If you're the king, you've got to prove it. Prove it against the guy with the 3 belts.
Tyson Fury doesn't seem all that interested in making that history, becoming this division's undisputed champion, the first since Lennox Lewis.
How long has it been since the heavyweight division had an undisputed champion? 2 decades, a little over 2 decades, surely.
The achievement would be a monumental achievement, though based on things Tyson Fury has said in the past, he won't stand for that ceremony. He's not really interested in that.
Based on things that he said in the past, though, him being as wishy-washy as he is, you can never really take him at his word.
Who knows what the hell that guy really means? The saving grace is that to Usyk, this matters to the Usyk people. Team Usyk becoming this division's undisputed champion. Karassyuk added, I anticipate that we will have a good chance to do so. I'm really optimistic. The only thing that can damage the fight is Fury. Usyk is very flexible. Money never touched his heart. He knows if he's successful in the ring, money comes his way. But the only concern I have is Tyson's attitude. If Fury is afraid to lose his popularity, to lose the status that he has now, and against Usyk, he has the biggest chance to lose it, he may not be flexible. He might ask for a bigger share to justify this risk. Probably for him, this is the riskiest fight in boxing, but deep in my heart, I believe he has the heart of a warrior, and he will accept the fair conditions and will not walk around. Then we can make this fight in the next 3 days. Earlier today, an image was posted of Alexander Karassyuk alongside both Frank Warren and his son George,
With a caption that read, "Closer than ever."
What you have to understand is that moving the fight from Saudi over to England costed Alexander Usyk a lot of money. He already agreed to his portion, his end of the deal.
Per Tyson Fury's U.S. promoter, Bob Arum, according to Bob, late last month, the Usyk end of it was done.
So before you go telling me about how it's only fair that Tyson Fury gets the lion's share of the pot now that the fight is in England, how fair is it that you guys moved the fight from Saudi to England?
How fair is it?
You costed that guy a lot of money. That's what you did. Moving the fight from Saudi to England. So how fair is that? You've got to compensate that guy to do this deal, to do this fight, if you really want this fight.
It's only fair that you compensate him for the money that he would have made in Saudi.
No, not an exact dollar amount, because the fight ain't worth in England what it was worth in Saudi. But you can compensate him with a reasonable percentage. Something, if you want this fight as bad as he wants this fight, because he still wants it. They're still at the table.
No, I know that 1 or 2 days ago, Alexander Karassyuk said that they want a 50-50 split and they're not budging.
I mean, I know that he said that, but I knew then, when I talked about it in my previous video, they're not going to stand on that. If anyone is going to do what is needed to get this fight over the line, it's the Usyk people, because Usyk's more flexible than Tyson Fury. He's not an egomaniac like that guy.
He's made sacrifices to make big fights before. He can make sacrifices again, and it sounds like he's willing to.
Why else do you think Karassyuk said that Usyk is flexible?
If you Usyk, you've already been an undisputed champion once before. You stand on the precipice of becoming an undisputed champion again. No other fight like this fight.
This is the only fight to make.
The last brass ring for what are all the marbles.
I trust Usyk to do what is necessary. Will Fury? There's only one way to find out.